That's right, guys. The very first ID with 5, 6,
Maribara.
Sorry. 5, 6, and 7 coin skills. Absolutely insane. How's this even balanced? If you guys didn't know, somebody leaked this about a couple of days ago, and yeah, the kit looks ridiculous. So ridiculous that I'm convinced this was supposed to be for Kanto 10. Like, what's consecutive coin? What's chips? What's jackpot? What's even going on? I lied. None of it is real. Not the leaks, not the kits, not the ID. I made it all the f*** up. But jokes aside, there is a real reason why I'm doing this. And that's because across all of Limbus Company, from chapters 1 through chapters 9, there are 2 sinners who never received the true capstone ID, that being Gregor and Rodion. Gregor got G-Corp Gregor, which is, you know, and Rodion got Rhyme Shank, an ego, not even an ID. And sure, you can argue that they're being saved for later, that they still need time to develop, that their moment has yet to arrive. But here's my tinfoil hat theory. Project Moon never actually intended for capstone IDs to be a thing in the first place, and my proof lies in chapters 1, 2, and 4. The one who gripped Sinclair feels like them dipping their toes into the waters, 1 foot in and 1 foot out, never fully committing. Even Spice Bushy sang, despite him clearly looking like Dongbek, his uptight story doesn't really fit the theme of his canto when you actually read it. Luckily, Gregor has started to metamorphosize. I'm expecting a Roach Emperor ID pretty soon. Maybe even a Roach God ID in the near future cantos. But enough of that. Let's get into the reviews. Oh yeah, by the way, the art is made by Murama, who made this gorgeous art of Rodion in an all-black dress. All I did was mask, recolor to fit the mugshot, and added a background and effects to tie it all together. So go support him. I also made this non-uptight version of it. It's basically just T-Corp Roja with colors. And finally, the sprite to go along with everything. Honestly, this is a lot of work for a shitpost, not gonna lie. But anyway. You guys might call me crazy for this, but yes, this ID does have a 5 coin skill 1, a 6 coin skill 2, and a 7 coin skill 3. And to really understand how insane that sounds, we need to talk about a brand new coin mechanic I came up with called consecutive coins. Gregor got excision coins, so why not give one to Rodion? Here's how consecutive coins works. For every consecutive head hit or tail hit, you gain +1 final power per coin. However, the moment you break that streaks, head into tails or tails into head, the effect immediately ends for all subsequent coin. That still sounds pretty overpowered, doesn't it? But here's where the balancing actually comes in. If you were to look at her sanity effects, you'll notice her SP is capped at 35. And I don't think people realize how massive that difference really is. At 35 SP, you're sitting around an 80-85% chance of hitting heads, with a 15 to 20% chance of hitting tails. Some of you might say, that's not a big deal. But if your luck is anything like mine, that's basically a 50-50 coin flip. I can't tell you how many times I've lost to what should have been an easy win because of a single unlucky tail hit, even at 45 SP. You guys understand my pain, don't you? Honestly, I think this coin is a most genius concept, purely because it opens the door for future IDs to finally have more than a 4 coin skill, without completely breaking the game. We might even see something as wild as a colored fixture ID built around this mechanic, because the key thing is, this consecutive coin is inconsistent. For example, if you hit heads on your first coin, then tails on your follow-up, the effect immediately collapses. What could have been +5 final power across your entire skill suddenly drops to +1. That's a big difference. But what about IDs with 45 SP? Wouldn't that be busted? And yeah, you'd be right, which is why you either cap their sanity at 35 or lower, or introduce an additional condition, something like, on combat start, lose 10 or 15 SP, or however much you need it to be balanced. This is why I call it a most genius idea, because it doesn't solve one problem, it creates design space, multiple ways to balance it, and multiple ways to build around it. And honestly, that's how we end up with concepts like the Queen of Gambling, Rodion. Queen of Gambling Rodion is a pure poise focus ID with above average stats. Her first skill, Check, is a 5-coin skill. Her first coin grants 1 poise, and the second grants 1 poise count, and each follow-up coins grows exponentially stronger. On her final coin, if you have jackpot, the damage of that coin is increased by 20%. And yes, I know what you're thinking, what is jackpot? We'll get to that. Her second skill, Raise, is a 6-coin skill and functions almost identically to Check. Same conditionals, same scaling, except now there's 1 extra coin. And remember, all of this only works if you hit consecutive heads or consecutive tails. Miss even 1 coin and every follow-up effect is immediately lost. And her final skill, All In, is where everything goes completely off the rails. A 7-coin skill with the same consecutive conditions. Honestly, maybe I should have added more secondary effects like fragile or paralyze, instead of tying everything to jackpot. Let me know what you would have done. For her defense skill, she has an evade called Poker Face. Coin power is increased by 1 for every 5 chips or poise on self, max of 2. For every coin successfully evaded, she gains 1 chip. Chips cannot be stolen from the same target or the same body part. So now, the real question, what are chips and jackpot? Chips increase critical damage by X times 1% for the next Y hit, rounded up to a cap of 25%. You can only hold 21 chips at a time. Why 21? Because it's a neat reference to blackjack. You gain chips by winning a clash, hitting heads, and killing a target. But here's the catch. You lose chips when you lose a clash or hit tails. So it's incredibly important to keep Rodion happy, otherwise you'll be losing chips and the effects of the consecutive coins. Now, jackpot activates when you reach 21 chips. When this happens, all chips convert into jackpot. Jackpot does 2 things. Your leftmost skills always hits heads no matter what. However, your rightmost skills only have half the effect of jackpot. Think of this as a watered down version of Clear Mirror Calm Water. But let the first part sink in. No matter what, hit all heads for your leftmost skill. This is absurd. Realistically, you're going to want to save this for skill 3 because that's where the ID truly explodes. And somehow, that's not even the craziest part. Let's talk about her passives. Her first passive, Royal Flush, requires a staggering 9 sin resources. 3 Gloom, 3 Pride, and 3 Envy. On combat start, you draw 1 of 5 cards, that being Ace, King, Queen, Jack, or Joker, each one with their own unique effect. Ace grants 1 reuse coin on your leftmost skill, so your 5, 6, and 7 coin skills suddenly becomes 6, 7, and 8 coin skills. And if you somehow line this up with jackpot and skill 3, which is incredibly unlikely, whatever you clash against is just deleted, sent straight to the Shadow Realms. King turns your leftmost skill into unbreakable coins. How does this work, you say? Well, let me introduce you to yet another coin type, consecutive unbreakable coins. This combines the effect of unbreakable coins and consecutive coins. Imagine this, you're sitting at negative 35 SP, but you pull a king. You end up losing the clash, but it doesn't matter. You clap back with all tails, and thanks to consecutive coins, you still gain final power, leading to you dealing massive damage, but you end up losing most of your chips in the process. It's very unlikely to happen, but it's a high risk, high reward. Queen is your survivability card. On combat start, heal 5 SP and 5 HP. If you're at max SP, gain 1 protection. If you're at max HP, gain another protection. Jack is your debuff card. On hit, inflict 1 fragile and 1 paralyzed next turn. And finally, the Joker card. The Joker inflicts 1 fragile and 1 plus coin drop on self. Yep, not all cards are good. One of the 5 actually hurts you. Because what's the point of gambling if you can't lose? The odds are tilted in your favor, but there's always a chance of you pulling the Joker card and completely crippling your turn. And that's what I call gambling. Her second passive is called the House Always Wins, and it requires 5 gloom resources. This passive gives you a guaranteed way of hitting heads at negative SP. At negative 10 SP, your first coin is guaranteed to hit heads. At negative 20 SP, it's the first 2 coins. And at negative 30 SP, it's the first 3 coins. However, there's a price. At every threshold, your critical damage is reduced by 5%. This does somewhat interfere with the consecutive unbreakable coin synergy, but you're also far more likely to win a clash while at low sanity. And honestly, that's what really matters. Even if your unbreakable coin does less damage, as long as you're winning the clash, then you're golden. On top of that, it's a reliable way of retaining some of your chips while at low sanity, which keeps your entire game plan intact. And finally, her support passive, Ace. It requires 3 Pride Res, and the ally with the highest coin count this turn deals 10% more critical damage. And thank God it's not speed or HP based. We all know how oversaturated that conditional is. So, how does this ID actually play? Well, for that, I'll be taking a page right out of Frey's book here. Sorry, Frey. This ID wants to reach jackpot as fast as possible, and that's harder than it sounds, cause early on, there's always a risk of rolling more tails than head. So getting Rodion to max SP quickly is extremely important. Luckily, her base skills roll absurdly high even without the consecutive coin conditions. But remember, at 35 SP, it's still an 80-20% chance of hitting heads. Still, when you do hit all heads, whoo, that's like rolling a nat 20 on your Divine Smite. Your main goal is to hit 21 chips as fast as possible to trigger jackpot, and then pray to RNGesus that you don't pull the Joker card, because if you did, that's like falling off a horse with your crippled legs. But that's the fun of it, nothing is guaranteed. So what if I lose? I'm doing this for the love of the game. And that's what makes it all the more sweeter when you eventually do win. Oh yeah! Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Remember to like and sub, and see you later.